In 2024, John Galliano stunned the fashion world once again with a hauntingly beautiful show for Maison Margiela beneath Paris's Pont Alexandre III. Models glided through a dimly lit, rain-soaked setup that looked like a forgotten nightclub from the 1930s. Draped in gowns with corseted waists, intricate lace, and eerie glass-like skin that left audiences spellbound. Galliano's designs whispered of glamour, decay, and a surreal world where art met fashion in the most unexpected ways. Yet just over a decade ago, his career seemed irreparably shattered by scandal. How did Galliano rise from his darkest days to reclaim his place as a fashion visionary?
It's really influenced me more greatly than perhaps I can even convey. Wild imagination.
John Galliano's story starts in Gibraltar, where he was born to a Spanish mother and an Italian father. Life wasn't exactly glamorous. His dad worked as a plumber and their family lived a pretty simple life. When Galliano was about 6, his family packed up and moved to England, settling in South London. Galliano was a quiet kid, but he had a spark of creativity that seemed to stand out even early on. School was important, but Galliano's imagination seemed to drift elsewhere, into colors, shapes, and styles. His interest in fashion began to grow as he got older, and he started to dream about a future far beyond the streets of South London. Eventually, Galliano's passion for creativity led him to Central St. Martin's, one of the most prestigious art and design schools in London. He poured everything he had into his studies, especially since fashion school wasn't exactly cheap, and he needed to make it count.
With your team and the hours of fitting, you want to create beautiful things, they take time.
Let's just say art supplies weren't exactly priced with broke students in mind. Half the time, he was probably wondering if he could sketch with a leftover sandwich crust. When he graduated in 1984, he didn't just pass. He graduated with first-class honors in fashion design. His final collection, inspired by the French Revolution, was called Les Incroyables. It was all about bold, dramatic looks, mixing historical themes with a modern twist. The collection got tons of praise, and a local boutique called Brown's bought it all to sell in their shop. This was Galliano's first real taste of success, and it helped put his name on the map. After graduation, Galliano decided to launch his own label. He started out in London working with close friends like Amanda Harlick, a stylist, and Stephen Jones, a milliner, or hat maker. These friends believed in his vision and helped bring his wild ideas to life.
So it was a real adventure. I mean, we came here with like 10 francs in our pocket. And I had a friend who worked here, Faisal Amour, and he said, yeah, you're doing the right thing, come over, you can camp in my studio until you find your feet.
At first, he was able to rent a studio in London, but money was always tight. He had some initial financial support from a man named Johan Brun, and later from Ole Peder Bertelsen, a Danish entrepreneur. But when those deals ended, Galliano's finances took a nosedive.
John Galliano is about beautiful, intelligent, sensuous women with character. I like clothes to perhaps help you stand in it.
By 1988, his label couldn't survive, and he was forced to declare bankruptcy. It was a rough blow for a young designer trying to make it big. Not ready to give up, Galliano decided to try his luck in Paris.
I realized I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I wanted to be international. It was a commercial decision to show in Paris, so it just made logical sense to go and show that.
In 1989, he moved there and managed to find a new backer in Fakel Amour, a Moroccan designer. Amour invited Galliano to set up his workspace at the Plan Sud headquarters, giving him a chance to keep creating. It was a fresh start, and he was determined to make it work.
The idea that you could almost treat the subject wearing the dress like a line drawing. So imagine you start with just a crayon at the top.
Over the next few years, Galliano started to gain a following, and his designs caught the eye of some powerful people in fashion. In 1991, he even designed costumes for pop star Kylie Minogue's Let's Get To It tour, which brought him some extra publicity. But his financial partnership with Amour ended in 1993, leaving Galliano in a tough spot again. Just when it seemed like he might lose everything, he got help from American Vogue editor Anna Wintour and her friend Andre Leon Talley, a writer for Vanity Fair. They introduced Galliano to Sal Schlumberger, a Portuguese fashion patron, along with John Bolt and Mark Rice, financial backers who ran a venture firm. This group believed in Galliano's talent and agreed to support him. Finally, he had the financial backing he needed to establish himself in the competitive Paris scene.
About the collection you showed in Sal Schlumberger's house for fall 1994, because it seems to me that was a real turning point for you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was. I was with Anna.
With his reputation growing, Galliano caught the attention of Bernard Arnault, the head of the luxury brand conglomerate LVMH. Arnault was looking for fresh talent to bring a new spark to the French fashion house Givenchy, and he thought Galliano was the perfect fit. In 1995, Galliano became the head designer at Givenchy, making him the first British designer ever to lead a major fashion haute couture house. Just a few months later, in January 1996, Galliano presented his first couture collection at Givenchy, and the fashion world loved it. The show was a big success, with critics praising his bold vision and unique style. Galliano's move to Dior was huge. When Bernard Arnault made the switch official in 1996, Dior wasn't just getting any designer, it was getting a powerhouse of creativity ready to shake up the entire fashion world. Galliano took on his new role with everything he had, injecting Dior's collection with his wild imagination, and it showed in every piece he crafted.
Because what I do at Dior is completely respectful to the codes and the tradition and the 10 years of blueprint that Mr. Dior laid down. Inspired by one of my research trips to Venice and Tuscany, which rekindled my passion for Renaissance art.
Right from the start, he took the spotlight, and his first Dior collection turned heads and left critics stunned. This was high fashion on a whole new level. Galliano used his love of history, storytelling, and drama to create pieces that felt like scenes from a play. Every dress, every suit, every stitch had a purpose.
The thing is you being within yourself, creating your world, and no one should mess with that, because that's really special, really.
He created his runway shows like a theater director would, building entire worlds around each collection. Models didn't just walk. They acted, they posed, they even danced, bringing Galliano's designs to life in a way people had never seen before. One moment they'd be decked out in opulent gowns inspired by Versailles and 18th century French royalty. The next they'd be channeling 1920s Hollywood or the exotic elegance of Asia. It was all about fantasy and spectacle, and the crowds couldn't get enough. Galliano would say, "My role is to seduce," and it was clear he took that role seriously.
These clothes need space, but it's so wonderful and I think magical to see them up close.
One of his most famous looks came in 1997 when Nicole Kidman wore his chartreuse chinoiserie gown to the Oscars. That dress made fashion history with its bright green silk, intricate detailing, and traditional Chinese inspiration, and it showed just how far Galliano could push the envelope. The gown was a hit, putting him on the map as one of the most daring and influential designers in the industry.
There was the mustardy with embroidery. It was it was like 2 decades ago now, but still, it matched her hair perfectly.
Every season, Galliano came back with something bigger and bolder, earning widespread acclaim for both Dior's haute couture and ready-to-wear lines. His collections were packed with signature styles like bias-cut slips, oversized coats, and wild accessories. He didn't just create trends, he created moments that people would remember for years.
Oh, a huge responsibility. And yeah, I thought, how can you upcycle a dress, the greatest, one of the greatest days of your life that you would wear this. So I felt happier with recycling.
But all this intensity came with a cost. Galliano's work life was fast-paced and demanding, and over time took a toll. As his fame grew, so did the pressure to keep outdoing himself. By the late 2000s, Galliano was struggling under the weight of it all. By late 2010, his heavy workload, coupled with addictions to alcohol, Valium, and sleeping pills, had taken a serious toll. Galliano's drinking had become so severe that his chauffeur reportedly knew to call a lawyer if his outbursts got out of hand. Under this immense pressure, his personal life began to unravel, and it all reached a breaking point in a series of shocking incidents. October 2010, La Perle Café, Paris. Galliano, visibly intoxicated, hurled anti-Semitic slurs at museum curator Geraldine Bloch, targeting both her Jewish heritage and her friend's South Asian background. The scene escalated until police intervened, quickly gaining media attention. February 2011, an even more damaging video surfaced. In it, a drunken Galliano was caught on camera, declaring his love for Hitler and spewing hateful racist remarks. This footage went viral just before Paris Fashion Week, setting off a firestorm.
Love Hitler? People like you would be dead today.
The backlash was immediate. Dior, faced with overwhelming public outrage and pressure, fired Galliano as creative director, marking an abrupt end to his 15-year tenure. The incident also led to legal consequences. Galliano was charged with public insults based on origin, religious affiliation, race, or ethnicity.
But the fashion house immediately dumped the designer last March, citing its zero-tolerance policy on
In
race.
June 2011, he attended a one-day trial where he expressed deep regret, apologized, and took responsibility, blaming his actions on his addiction struggles. The court found him guilty.
The court decided to convict Mr. Galliano on both counts, but the court decided to impose a penalty of a suspended fine, that is to say that no fine will have to be paid. So there is actually no penalty, so to speak, which is a very strong sign by the court.
Ordering him to pay suspended fines of 6,000 euros and symbolic damages to his victims, while acknowledging that his need for help was greater than any punishment.
He was not there to see how he was. John, you really messed up. You've let down a lot of people.
Galliano apologized for the hurt he had caused, stating that these views didn't reflect his beliefs. The scandal destroyed his career and reputation. He entered rehab and committed to his recovery, hoping to rebuild his life.
The world of fashion has been reacting to the dismissal of star designer John Galliano from the Dior label. He was sacked after being questioned by police over allegations that he hurled anti-Semitic insults at people.
After his Dior dismissal, Galliano's future in fashion was uncertain, but in 2013, he began his journey back into the spotlight. Fashion heavyweight Anna Wintour helped him secure a temporary residency with Oscar de la Renta, where Galliano assisted in creating a stunning fall 2013 collection. Galliano worked quietly in the background, and the Anti-Defamation League even acknowledged his efforts to make amends.
And he'd been out of the public eye for a while.
His brief time with De La Renta reminded the industry of Galliano's unmistakable talent, sparking hope for a real comeback. Then, in October 2014, a surprising announcement shook the fashion world. Galliano would join Maison Margiela as creative director, a role that seemed completely opposite to his flamboyant style. Galliano at Margiela was seen as an unusual match. Maison Margiela, known for its minimalist aesthetic, seemed worlds apart from Galliano's signature drama. The house's founder, Martin Margiela, known as fashion's invisible man, was rarely showing himself and was using anonymity as part of the brand's image. Galliano, meanwhile, was a showman who thrived on the theatrical and was often front and center. But with the backing of Only the Brave, or OTB Group, and Renzo Rosso, the Margiela founder, Galliano was determined to add his magic and honor Margiela's style while bringing his creativity to the table. His debut show for Margiela in 2015 was breathtaking. The show brought Margiela's values together with Galliano's iconic artistry, blending deconstruction with lush materials, layers, and intense silhouettes. The pieces were complex and surreal, featuring garments that seemed both raw and refined.
And it's great there. I mean, I feel much freer. My points of inspiration are much freer.
Dresses were made from unexpected materials, and coats had surreal touches like seashells and elements from classic paintings. It was like stepping into a dream, one filled with poetic and nostalgic elements that felt fresh and deeply personal to Galliano. Fast forward to 2024, and Galliano's latest collection for Margiela is making waves again, going viral worldwide. This recent show, held at the iconic Pont Alexandre III in Paris, pushed the boundaries of fashion in a way that had audiences mesmerized. Hundreds gathered despite a cold, rainy night, to witness this cinematic spectacle, which looked more like an art installation than a fashion show.
I actually discovered that place on one of my early morning jogs, then inquired if it was possible to do something there, and I was told no, and then got a no again.
The theme was haunting, almost ghostly, inspired by 1930s cabarets, with models dressed as mysterious figures from another time. Galliano transformed the setting into a forgotten Parisian nightclub with flickering candlelight.
Oh, it'd be fab to actually have them look like they're coming back from a night out or whatever. There was a bit of a vampire story underneath all that too.
This show took everyone on a surreal journey, blurring the lines between art, fashion, and performance. Models paraded in exquisite corseted gowns and suits with sculptural cuts, revealing Galliano's obsession with details. Intricate lace bodices, elaborate embroidery, and bold face coverings were woven into a dreamlike sequence that felt like walking into a masterpiece. The collection wasn't just about clothes. It was about emotion, mood, and storytelling.
I'd already started to work with curvier girls on couture, private orders. I wanted to do that more, so I embraced it. I absolutely.
Each piece seemed to whisper a story of glamour and decay, of beauty found in unexpected places. One look featured models in a sort of glass skin created by makeup artist Pat McGrath, a feat that took over 30 minutes per model and gave them an otherworldly, ethereal glow. The show blended Margiela's deconstructive, mysterious charm with Galliano's explosive creativity, a fusion that reminded everyone why Galliano was always a force to be reckoned with. The final piece, a grand silk taffeta gown in rich midnight blue, took the audience's breath away, as it seemed to capture the weight of Galliano's journey, each fold and drape telling a part of his story. This show proved that Galliano wasn't just back, he was better than ever. Maison Margiela, with Galliano at the helm, became a place where high fashion could tell a story, express a feeling, and even challenge its audience. Rumors are already swirling about whether Galliano might one day return to Dior, or perhaps venture into new territory yet again. But what do you think? Will Galliano stay and make Maison Margiela his own, or is he destined to shake up another iconic fashion house? Share your thoughts below. This is one fashion comeback story far from over. And remember, this channel is AI-free. Every detail you see here is created by real humans just for you. Subscribe for more authentic AI-free videos.